So you've been searching AliExpress and you finally found a cool product to test. Maybe you've even built your own website on Shopify, or you've had my AI do it for you for free. And maybe you're even thinking about ordering the product into yourself and filming some creatives to go viral with on TikTok. Everything about this whole dropshipping business model seems pretty straightforward to you, except nobody seems to be talking about order fulfillment. Like, what the hell do you actually do when somebody orders from your website? How do you ensure that they get their product? How do you ensure it doesn't show up damaged, defective, or broken altogether? I mean, hell, how do you even talk to a supplier in the first place and actually have the product sent from their warehouse in China all the way to your end customer in the US? Here we have the ultimate guide that will answer all of your questions, break down the best route for you depending on where you're currently at, and clear up everything regarding finding the best way to source your products and actually make sure your customer starts receiving them. Let's jump straight into it. So first off, you guys all know how dropshipping works, right? I mean, if you don't, it's super easy. I'll explain it in just a couple of seconds. I'm sure you're familiar with the rideshare app Uber, where customers who want a ride can easily be connected up with people who are willing to give them a ride, the taxi drivers or the Uber drivers. Now, dropshipping is basically the exact same thing. It's people who are looking to buy a product online and you're matching them up with somebody who sells that product. But the way that you're doing this is you're creating a website on Shopify, you're branding the product, you're ensuring the product actually gets from a supplier to the customer, and a bunch of other value add in between. The long story short, you're building a relationship with a third-party supplier, you're getting the product from them for super cheap, you're marking up that product on your Shopify store, bringing traffic to the store, selling the product to the customer, and then keeping all of that profit in between for essentially being the middleman. Now, the first thing you need to know is there's actually a few different types of suppliers that you can work with. So firstly, you have the private agent, and this is essentially another middleman, also known as a Chinese dropshipper. But I've actually separated the private agent into three different categories. Not only do you have that middleman or that Chinese dropshipper, but you also have a supplier and you also have a manufacturer. And these three different types of suppliers can all be disguised as a private agent. Now hold that in the back of your memory while we jump to the next two. You also have fulfillment companies. Two of the biggest ones in the space, and I've personally worked with both of them, have been Zendrop and AutoDS. And lastly, you have marketplace. So a marketplace is AliExpress, Alibaba, some of these bigger wholesaling websites that allows you to order the product directly from the marketplace straight to your customer. Now, first, to understand which type of supplier you should actually be working with, well, it depends on where you're currently at. But I'm gonna go ahead and scratch off a few of the options right off the list to make it easier. As far as the private agent side of things goes, you definitely do not want to be working with the Chinese dropshipper. You see, all this person is doing is going to a marketplace like AliExpress and shipping the product to your customer, and then they're charging you a markup to order through them. So yet again, you're working with just another middleman, and that's just too many costs involved, and it's going to struggle to allow you to be profitable and outcompete your competition. Now, we also have AliExpress in the marketplace route. Look, AliExpress is dead in 2025 and moving forward. I used to use this platform 5 years ago when I first started dropshipping. Typically, the products are even more expensive on AliExpress. You have no control over the shipping times, and a ton of stuff can go wrong when you're sending out hundreds of orders to your customers straight off of a marketplace like AliExpress. Now, the next type of supplier we can scratch straight off the list for now is a manufacturer. So I'll say scratch it off the list, but really what you want to do is put this one off to the side, because eventually when you have a brand doing at least 6 figures per month and beyond, chances are you'll want to work directly with the manufacturer to get the lowest cost of goods. But in order to do that, you have to be processing extremely high amounts of volume first, because these suppliers typically have an MOQ, or minimum order quantity, which means that they'll only work with you if you're ordering hundreds of units in bulk. Not to mention, you probably have to have your own warehousing set up in the US or be working with a third-party logistics center in order to actually house the products after ordering them in bulk from the manufacturer and then distributing them to your customers. So really, we've scratched off the Chinese middleman or the private agent, we've scratched off the marketplace, and we've scratched off the manufacturer. If you're a beginner or intermediate dropshipper, you want to be looking at working with a fulfillment company or a private supplier. But first, let's take a look at the pros and cons of working with a fulfillment company like AutoDS or Zendrop. So first off, the cons is that fulfillment companies traditionally were more expensive and you had less control and direct oversight over your products. That means that although these fulfillment companies do a great job of actually processing your orders, chances are they'll charge a little bit of a markup and you'll be at a disadvantage when competing with everybody else. Traditionally, you'll have less control over the supply chain and you won't be able to know exactly what's going on with your product orders. But the pros are that you have a much better user experience, you have enhanced features that enable easier workflow, automated orders, and it's pretty much like already hiring many employees into your business to manage everything from automatically sending your customers emails, updating them with the tracking information after your orders have gone out, and fulfilling all of your day's orders in just one click on their dashboard. And now let's talk about the pros and cons of working directly with a private supplier. So a private supplier is basically just a warehouse in China that drop ships or ships your products directly to your customers, and they usually order the products from manufacturers in bulk and hold on to them in their warehouses. The cons of working with these guys is that it's typically a little bit more hands-on, or you'll have to be in constant communication and you have to process your orders yourself. A couple years ago, when I was religiously working with a private supplier, I remember having to download all of the information from Shopify in CSV or Excel files and send them directly to my supplier so that they could start fulfilling each order and each line item. Not to mention, you do run the risk of being screwed over. When working with these suppliers, there's a chance that they can take your money and run off with it. I mean, that happened to me once at the beginning of my career, and I lost $10,000 overnight and then was screwed with a bunch of orders that I personally couldn't pay to fulfill. But the pros of working with a private supplier is that it's typically cheaper than going to a marketplace like AliExpress or even working with a fulfillment center. You also have a bit more control over your products. There's lots of negotiations to be made because you can directly ring up your supplier, and you also have enhanced insights into the supply chain. But look, both of these methods work. Now, I know you might be scratching your head thinking, well, that just made it even more confusing. I don't know which one to go with. And the truth is, both the private supplier and the fulfillment companies work very well in today's day and age. But before we talk about what's best for you, you need to know how to actually get in contact with these private suppliers so that you can start setting up order fulfillment on your store. So first things first, you have to identify your needs. You must determine which products you want to sell, what geographical areas are you focusing on, the US, Canada, Australia, the location that you plan on selling in, and the type of products or the niche that you're selling in will determine how you can find the right agent to work with. Now, to find these potential agents, you want to actually use platforms like AliExpress, Alibaba, AutoDS, Zendrop, CJ Dropshipping, or other websites, or even global sources and trade shows to find your private agents and suppliers. Now, you might be thinking, well, I just sent you back to AliExpress, but didn't you just say it was dead? And AliExpress is not dead. It's just dead in terms of dropshipping hundreds of orders through a single listing. But you still want to be using AliExpress to come up with inspiration, find new products, and to reach out to suppliers that have their products listed on the marketplace, AliExpress. And the easiest way to do this is when you go to AliExpress and let's say you're selling some kind of sports equipment. You would type in sports equipment, you'd find a bunch of listings for similar products. It doesn't even have to be the exact same product you're selling because chances are that supplier will be able to fill your product too. And another thing that you should make sure you do when you're down there reaching out to the supplier is check the reviews and credentials. So what are the ratings on this supplier from previous people that have worked with them, and how many of them are there as well? Typically, if it's over 1,000 reviews and they're rated quite well, then your odds of finding a pretty good supplier this way is pretty good. If not, I would keep looking at different suppliers. And remember, there's hundreds of them. All you have to do is go to AliExpress and then start looking at the niches that your product you're selling is in. Now, I've actually found some private suppliers that I still work with to this day using this method. And the crazy thing is that most of these suppliers can actually source any product. So once you start to find a few good ones that you start to build a relationship with over time, then you'll be set, and pretty much any other product you find, you can go right to that private supplier. Now, when you're reaching out to the supplier, you need to be very careful with the message that you craft. So prepare an email or direct message. If you're going the AliExpress route, like I'm just mentioning, you can actually DM them right there on the platform. And at this point in time, what you want to do is you want to craft a message that, one, lets them know that you're an avid dropshipper and can bring them a lot of orders. This is super important because remember, suppliers want to make money just as badly as you do. So if you can somehow convince them that you'll bring them a lot of money, then they'll be much more willing to work with you. Now, the second thing that you want to do in your message is you want to craft it in a very sneaky way where AliExpress doesn't actually know that you're taking them off platform. You see, the big three ways that suppliers like to communicate is WeChat, WhatsApp, and Skype. So I usually go for the WhatsApp first, and what I do is I actually send them my WhatsApp, but I space it out so AliExpress doesn't detect that I'm sending them a number for off-platform use on their platform. Now, if you actually avoid this step, you could get your AliExpress account suspended. And I know it's a bit sneaky of us to do, but it's gonna save us a lot of money and allow us to actually have success success with dropshipping. Because otherwise, AliExpress is going to force us to stay on their platform, and they charge 7% fees for every single transaction. So that means that the supplier has to upcharge on the product, and you have to pay more for the product as opposed to just going directly to the supplier themselves. And then you can also negotiate more favorable terms and find better and faster shipping deals this way as well. And once you're in contact with the supplier, you should discuss the terms and ask about specific services that they offer. Include the product sourcing, shipping, inventory management, and fulfillment. Discuss the pricing and ask for their commission structure and other costs involved to understand how it'll fit with your budget. And the best thing is, a lot of times if the supplier believes that you're a great fit to work with, they'll send you a sample free of charge. And what can you do with this sample? You can create TikTok organic, and you can make creatives that are gonna blow up your business and bring in the sales without having to spend a dime. So now that you know how to get set up with a private supplier, let's talk about how you get set up with a fulfillment company. Well, first and foremost, I have an AI software that'll build you a dropshipping store for 100% free in less than 5 minutes. It's pretty crazy. It'll be down below in the description. And not only will it set you up with a full store ready to go, but we also integrate it with AutoDS. So AutoDS is a fulfillment company that I've been working with for a few years now, and they are my current recommendation in the space. You see, it's very easy to start working with them. In one click, you can connect the AutoDS application to your Shopify store, or if you use my AI, it'll do it for you. And then you'll get set up with your own dashboard on AutoDS. Everything is super easy to use. They also have tools that'll help you find winning products and add it to your store in just one click. They have 24/7 customer support to help you out with any issues along the way. And the whole thing is just super easy. So I don't need to get too in-depth on that right now. But most importantly, we need to talk about what is my preference right now and what is my recommendation to you starting out. So nowadays, when I launch a new store, I've been shifting away from working with the private agents, even the ones that I have great relationships with to this day. My current advice to you is, if you're a beginner or intermediate dropshipper, the best place to go is AutoDS or another fulfillment company of your choice. You see, these fulfillment companies have came a long way. Back in the day, they simply just white labeled AliExpress, had all the products on there, and then helped you kind of ensure that the product would actually reach your customer's house. But nowadays, it's gone a lot further than that. They actually have their own fulfillment centers as well, where they house all the products and they double check them for quality control before they're being sent out. On top of that, they bring in a range of different shipping options. So depending on what works with your store and how fast you're promising your customers to receive the product, you can find a shipping line that works for you. You have a lot of leverage, and you can find the fastest shipping and also the best quotes on the products themselves. They've honestly solved all of the cons that I mentioned before when it traditionally comes to working with fulfillment companies. It currently is the least amount of effort and maximum results. And if you guys have watched some of my videos before, you know this is what I always push, especially for you guys starting out, because nobody wants to go and spend hours and hours or weeks of their time building a store, connecting it with a supplier, just to realize that their product isn't really a hit and they have to do it all over again. So I always preach to just start as quick as possible, and you'll fix things along the way. And if you can simply test more products and move quicker than other people, then you're gonna start destroying your competition in the early stages as a beginner dropshipper. So with that being said, your best route forward. So step one, use our AI down below to set up a Shopify store in less than 10 minutes. And with our latest version, the stores are coming out better than ever, which means less time that you have to spend optimizing before a launch. And also, we've got it down to just 5 minutes. You can have everything set up. Step two, connect your store with our fulfillment partners and leverage their suppliers and their warehousing. And like I said, the AI will do all this for you. So just familiarize yourself with the dashboard on AutoDS and make sure you know how to use everything before moving forward. Now, step three is optional. If you guys want to work with us, we've opened a few more spots for intermediate dropshippers looking to scale to some serious numbers for the rest of Q4 and beyond. Now, here's why I recommend working with us. I'm not going to explain it all in this video. I have a great video where I walk you through the competitive advantage and the insider access that our team has. You can click down below in the description or somewhere up here to access that. But in a nutshell, I've been doing this for 5.5 years. I'm personally friends with the founders and the owners of the biggest fulfillment companies in dropshipping. I have the highest tier partnerships with Shopify, TikTok, and Snapchat. And with all of my insider connections, it makes it almost impossible for me to fail, which is why you guys have seen time and time again, I've been successful with running up new dropshipping products from scratch. And if you guys want to operate like the 0.1%, you have to do something different than the other thousands of dropshippers that are entering the market every single day. You see, what we do is we scrape the back end of all the supplier networks that we work with, and we deliver you guys products that are practically guaranteed to pop because we have that insider access. We go straight to the source and we know exactly what's going on. It's pretty much like stealing winning products. And if you don't have this insider's edge, it can be a lot more difficult to land the right product. The next thing that we do is through our partnerships at TikTok and Snapchat, we're actually able to get paid media for 50 cents on the dollar, which means we're paying half the cost as everybody else, a product test, and even start scaling up our products with the methods that we've invented in the space. And like I said, I'm not gonna go too much into the process right now because you can just watch the other video, but truly we've done some insane stuff and we've been able to help a handful of select clients completely change their life and make ridiculous money with Ecom, even as a complete beginner. So if you guys want to learn more about working with us, the link will be the first one down below in the description. Unfortunately, we do not work with everybody, so please make sure you're serious and make sure you have the time before you even think about applying to work with our team down below. And for the rest of you guys, do make sure you take advantage of our free courses, resources, the AI store builder, and everything that you're going to need to start dropshipping from scratch. That being said, that wraps up the full guide to everything you need to know as a beginner in 2025 about fulfilling your first order on your dropshipping store. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in a few days. Peace.